Yo, it's Captain bringing you a Wuthering Waves third impressions. We've actually played it a few times now, but I've gave my first impressions. I gave my second impressions. We played it a few more times. I have made it. We made it through Act 3 in the story, and we just unlocked like essentially the daily system and the battle pass and companion missions. I feel like we unlocked a lot. And I didn't really get to play with these systems yet. Does that mean there will be a fourth impression? There may be a fourth impressions in the future. Maybe I should have made this one a chronicle like I've done the other ones. An impressions chronicle. But I wanted to talk about, as like another supplementary, we got our second impressions, we'll have our third impressions of just kind of the things I've learned because I'm still enjoying the game. I've definitely identified some things that are annoying to me. Um, but I still think it's quite fun. I'm probably way behind everyone. Probably everyone's been done, like, beat it and did everything they can and is just enjoying Game Fest right now. But but Captain's slow and we're still back there. So yeah, that's where we are. Like I think I'm union level 10. Yeah, I think I made it to 10 because they just told me that the world level updated. It has a thing like in Genshin where every so many levels the world levels up, all the enemies level up with you, and then at certain, but it also lets your characters level up a little bit higher, and then at certain places you have to do like a quest to unlock it and move forward. But that first one, the first one at Union level 10, is not an unlock one. So everything just levels up, and it let me know I can ascend all my characters to get them past level 20 because that's been the max so far. So I can put them past level 20. I assume I can do the same thing with like weapons and stuff, but I haven't really played with that system. I don't know how you level up the gear, the the echoes. I forget what they're called. I forget what the gears are called. You equip the little Pokemons, and that's your gear. So I haven't played with that too much either. But right, we've kind of just like I feel like we've hit that first kind of milestone, and I don't know. I just want to talk about it because we played a couple more. This, I don't know how long this video will be. Hopefully not too long. Maybe it'll actually be a short one because I just have a few quick things. I just wanted to take it off the cuff and just give my thoughts on it. So I just wrote down a few things I wanted to go over. So what have we learned? Look, I'm just gonna talk about the top thing on my mind because it's not the most interesting thing. It's not the most fun I've had, but oh man, is it on the top of my mind because today especially, like I said, we got through Act 3, right? Which means we had to play through Act 3. The story is really something. Now, the best way I can say it is people say the story gets good at Act 4 and Act 5, and it's generally recommended that you just skip until then. And I think I talked in both the last impressions where the story was not as appealing to me as the gameplay. The gameplay was really good, and the story was kind of dragging. Holy snaps, does Act 3, I almost couldn't handle it. We've given up. I never skip story, okay? It bothers me, and I like the world that they're trying to make, and I want to see the story that they're trying to tell. But we became story skimmers. Hardcore story skimmers. I did not wait for voice acting. I did not enjoy like the moment or anything. It was like if I saw it and read it and got the gist of it, I was hitting A. And I hit A to bring it up so it would put up the words faster so I could read it faster, right? Like the end of Act 3, the end of Act 3 introduces a new character, and he's, as far as I could tell, he's a villain, and his name's Scar, and he just goes on and on and on. I think he's a villain just because we don't want him to talk anymore. Like, we just want him to shut up. Like, I think we're actually opposed to him just to shut him up. And after hearing him talk for so long, I fully agree. The man needs to be stopped. Arrest him. Take him out, beat him up. Like this is not good for the world. It's just, oh my god. Like how do I explain this? I feel like this game, I feel like the writing for this, I don't think the story's bad. I don't think what they're, I don't think anything's bad. I think it's just, it's so drawn out. It's almost like they took every piece of the story and they were like, what's the way we can say this the longest way possible? How can we get this into as many dialogue boxes as possible? And how can we make those individual dialogue boxes as long as possible? That's what it feels like. Like, this guy comes up and you, all right, this is an exaggeration, but it should it should make it clear. This guy shows up and you've heard about him before, and he shows up and your character goes, "You're Scar," and he's like, "Oh, I see you've heard about me. Well, if you really must ask, then of course I am Scar, the one you've heard about. I'm so glad you know me, and I'm so glad that I get to share with you that I am indeed Scar. Ooh, it's so nice." And you're just like, the man could have just said, "Yeah, I see you know me," and then we move on. But no, they it has to be. Now I think, now in truth, I think he only says like 2, maybe 3 of those things that I just exaggerated. But the story itself feels like that constantly. It feels like that constantly. It's just like constantly going over itself. It's tripping over its own exposition to give you more exposition and define more terms, and it's brain numbing. It's actively deterring me from wanting to learn the story, learn the world building, and enjoy the plot they have to tell me, because it just washes over you. Just the words. It's like somebody reading a textbook to you. Right? It's like you went to that one business class you had to take and they just started throwing terms at you that make sense, but they've defined them in strange ways, and so they're like redefining terms like stapler to you, and then they're using the term in the strange way that they redefine it, and it's just all just washing over you. Like, you're just sitting there like, what is happening? And I'm on the English dub, right? And so some of the characters talk slowly on the English dub, and you're just like, so you naturally have this really just bloated exposition dialogue, and then you have some of the characters who just talk slowly. And there's nothing wrong with characters who talk slowly, or voice acting choices where they feel like it should be slower, but the slower someone talks, generally the less dialogue you want to give them, like lengthwise, because it's going to expand. So dialogue that's this long for a normal speed speaker is all of a sudden going to be this long. So if you give them something that's this long to start with, now it's going to be this long. Now we're off the screen. It's too long. So that's a bit challenging. So you just put all these things together. It's a new world. They're trying to throw a bunch of new terms at you. They're trying to define all those terms as they go. They're trying to give you all the world building through this just beleaguered, is that the right word? Beleaguered exposition. It just doesn't end, and it is too much. It is too much. Like I feel like there's a reason everyone says you should skip. It's like it feels like you have to. It feels like you have to enjoy the game. So that's the thing on the top of my mind after coming out of Act 3. Now, people say it gets good in Act 4 and 5. I presume that means they either stop talking so much, or now that you're in the habit of skipping, there's just more cutscenes and things to see. So there you get more of the story even though you're skipping. I'm not sure. I haven't experienced it myself. But based on what people are saying, they're like, I'll just skip until until Act 4. So either either they're still skipping and there's just a lot more cutscenes or something that are cool, or it actually slows down, or actually shortens up and shores up. There you go. It actually shores up the dialogue and makes it more digestible. Because that's the thing. It is undigestible. It is too much. It's too much. Now, I would also say, because I talked about this in my other impressions, the gameplay is really good. It's such a good action game, and they're winning so hard in the action department and gameplay compared to their peers. Because you might prefer, you might prefer the gameplay of one of the other games like this, like Genshin or something, more than this game because maybe you're into it. But as far as like, if you like action games, this one's really nailing that. It's really nailing that. You know what I mean? Like, I sit there and I play Zelda, I play Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, man, I wish this gameplay had more action elements. I like so this but this game does. It has all the wonderful action elements I like combos and interesting things and ways to chain the characters. I don't even like the games where you switch, where it's a party game but you switch between the party members one at a time. That always annoys me. But in this game it's actually interesting and cool. Like, it's actually fun to do it. So they're just winning so hard in the action department. Then you have this super heavy, long story. And Act 3 also points out that it's not a light, fluffy story. It's like heavy and dark. This huge thing that Scar is going on about, it's an obsession with goats. But like dark goat it's sacrifices. It's like a Grimm's fairy tale, and he just goes on about these goats and how the goats and how there's like good goats and bad goats, and the goats followed the evil shepherd, but the goats wanted the evil. They just pretended, and then they turned on the good. And you're like, and it's got these images, and you're just like, okay, it's not bad. It's actually pretty, like, if you're into a darker, heavier story, it's actually pretty interesting. It actually touches on some relevant things, right? And it's kind of cool because you get to this town that's like, what happened here? And then the story unfolds. You're like, yo, that was dark. However, dark stories are naturally heavier. Right? They hit harder. So you have to be more delicate with them. You have to write them a little bit more carefully, because right now we have a giant, undigestible wall of expository dialogue on top of a heavy, dark, kind of drama type story that I'm supposed to feel hard emotions for. And we're just weighing it down. It's so dense. I already can't swallow it. And you've just like soaked it in like syrup now. Like dark tar syrup. And it's like right, light fluffy stories, you can get away with more stuff because they're light and fluffy and it's not that big a deal. When you start telling heavier, more emotional stories, you have to raise the bar because you're trying to say something more important than light fluffy fun time. Although there's a lot of importance to light fluffy fun time, I'm not devaluing it. Those are my favorite stories. But like, if you're trying to say something more important than just haha fun, you, you've got to take more care and get it right. And I think they're just having trouble with that. So I think what they need to do, if you wanted my unprofessional advice, um, this action game is so good in the action and gameplay elements. You're winning in that department. Stick to that. Write a story that fits a a fun action game better. So snappy, right? Exciting, flashy. You want that doesn't mean you have to take the substance away. They obviously want to tell some story with substance, and I don't want to tell them not to do that. But you're gonna have to get that substance delivered in something that matches the fun and excitement of the action, right? If it gets pretty anime. The story does. Think about like um like a Saturday morning cartoon anime, you know, like an action anime where there's it's all, you know, there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening. Those stories aren't irrelevant. People really get into Dragon Ball and go nuts with it, right? But but they're told in ways, I don't even like Dragon Ball, dude. But they're told in ways that match. So it's always, so you still always know you're watching an action thing, right? I think they need to move in that direction with the story. You know, lighter, snappier, like easier to digest, and keep the action high. You can definitely still get a lot of motivation and a lot of character and a lot of development in those characters in a story like that. It's just where you put it. You know what I mean? It's like a monologue right before a big action scene. There's a way you do those. They're a little silly, they're a little cliche, but who cares, right? There's a way you do those that still the action, the tension is up the whole time, you know, and it's not just now we're talking in the middle of nowhere for long periods. You know what I mean? Where just everything drags. The game is cool, the game is snappy, the game is fun. Write a story that doesn't drag. That's it. Even the same story, but make it not drag, and I think they'll have it. I think that's all they need to do is just pick it up. Lighter, more digestible, less drag. There you go. That's what I would recommend for this game. You do not need to compete on the heavy, super emotional density that some of your competitors like Hoyo have, because your game is beating them in other ways. The niche that you are fulfilling is we're really gameplay focused and we have really great action. So lean into that niche and win them there instead of trying to compete with probably the best factor of your competitor, which is the really complex, dense, emotional stories. Doesn't mean you can't tell good stories, but right, focus on what you're good at and what's going to make it so people want to come to your game when you have a patch and the other ones are between, and then people will bounce around and get different things from the different games. Okay, that's my that's my thoughts of the story. That's probably the biggest one. Oh my god, this video is not short. That's probably the biggest one. The other thing I wanted to here, I wrote these down. What else right? The other thing I wanted to talk about, that's the next top of my mind, is speaking of the action, the variety of characters. We actually spent, it wasn't today, it was yesterday we played, where I spent most of the time just in the trial, in like the banner trials. Like if there's a new banner characters, you can go and do a little trial mode for each of them. And we just played so many characters in the trials because there's 2 banners up right now because they're accelerating their schedule. We just played so many different characters, like 5 or 6 different characters, and they all had their own unique play style, their own unique combos, their own way that they use their gauge, right? And different, you know, there's only so many ways you could do these. It's not super complex, but each character did it different ways. You know, maybe 2 characters burn their, you know, just fill up their gauge and burn it, but they've got a different combo system, or they've got, you know, a different way they use their skills. You know, some of the characters have an ultimate that just does a big thing. Some of the characters have an ultimate that sends them into like an overdrive mode, and then they play differently for a little bit. Some of the characters, like one of the characters, the ultimate and the skill like build ice things, and then you use your hold attack that you have to time. It does like a little mini game on the bar where you have to time it and let go of the hold attack in the right place. And if you do it, it'll blow up all the ice sculptures, which is really cool because as you're building those ice sculptures, you also are filling the bar, which gives you more leeway to time it properly. So you're like building your chance to get the timing right at the same time as you're building traps for the enemies, and then you get the timing right and all the traps go off. It's really cool. Like what a nice concept. Like there's so much stuff that they can do with like 3 buttons 3 attack buttons: normal attack, special attack, and an ultimate, and a gauge. Like just add it, because if you play these, the competitors in the space have that. They have a normal attack, they have um, a special, and they have an ultimate. Some of them have like a weapon attack or something. But like just adding the gauge, adding a meter. Just every character has a meter, and the meters work differently. Some of them fill up the whole gauge and spin the whole gauge. Some of them fill up little chunks of the gauge and spin chunks of the gauge. Some of them fill up chunks and then like spin all the chunks. Some of it's like fill up the gauge and then use bits of it, right? So you're like going back and forth. It's all very interesting. And then there's like specialty characters. There was a character that was all about breaking the, I don't know what they call it, but the poise bar. Essentially the poise bar that big enemies have. And it was like he was specialized in that. So he had his ultimate, he could go into like a super mode. He could drop a thing that was like a trap that anybody was in it would get buffed, so you could switch him out and his team would get a little bit of buff, but it would also charge his ultimate. And then when you switch him back in and go into his ultimate, he attacks a lot faster and he has like cooler moves, and you can do a different combo. But it doesn't do more damage. It does more of that break bar damage, more of the poise bar damage. And so you just kind of switch him in when he's ready, chunk that break bar down, and then when it's down, you switch him out to like a DPS to now take advantage of the stun you've just created. That's cool team synergy, right? That's interesting. That's interesting and fun. The new character, the new banner character, was, I mean, she technically used a puppet. She threw a puppet around, but she's essentially like a whip character. That's the kind of animation she was doing, and it was all about marking everybody, right? And as you hit people, it marked them, and then you could take advantage of those marks by I've forgotten now, but like by using her skill or something. And then there was a way, like if you built up her meter, you could, I think it was hold attack. You could hold attack on everybody, and it would upgrade their marks to like super marks, and now they would take a bunch of damage, right? And so you were trying to get the marks on everybody, upgrade the marks, and then like pop them all with, I think it was ultimate. I might have these mixed up, but like you would pop them all with the ultimate, and you get like a big damage spike. So there was a natural flow to the way you were doing things. That was interesting. It was really cool because she had very whip-like attacks. You could hit a lot of enemies at once. So you just and there was all this lightning coming down as you upgraded the marks and stuff, because the animations are really nice. The effects are really nice. The game looks great in the action department, in the combat department. It feels good, it plays good, and it looks good. Like they gave everybody custom like return to idle animations. Like if you stop attacking in different parts of their combo, they will do different things. Like there's a guy, he has a hat, and he throws his hat for one of the pieces of his combo, and if you stop, because he'll throw it and catch it, and if you stop and you don't finish the combo, right, well, to get back to idle, he like flips it around and puts it on his head, whereas normally it would be different because he'd go to the fourth attack of the combo, and that part would already be done, right? So it's just cool. Like the gun characters have all sorts of them because they're like on all sorts of different poses with their guns, and they have all different ways to put the guns back. It's just fun to look at them. It's fun to play them. The action's great, especially for a game like this. Like, is it gonna beat Devil May Cry? I mean, maybe not. Probably not. Okay, right? Devil May Cry, that's all that game is. But am I having a fantastic time like I would in Devil May Cry? Yeah, I am. I'm having a great time because these games, it's a nice open world game with a lot of overworld activities. The gameplay continues to that. There's all sorts of different things to do, right? I keep running into new little mini game things where it's like stand on the plate, move a thing, throw an explosive rock over here, try to pop the balloons. There's all these like little mini games that pop up, and so that's fun and engaging. You know, it probably get boring after a while, but sure is a lot of variety in it, so it's fun to run around the world, do the gameplay, and then when there's an enemy anywhere, you're like, oh cool, I get to do the whole combat system, and that's a great time. So having that higher level action combat system in an increasingly common space of open world type of gameplay is really nice for people who like action games, because I've seen a lot of these, Breath of the Wild style open world games, and most of the time they let you down in the gameplay because it's all about finding stuff in the world. So this game's like, hey, you can find stuff in the world, but now if you're an action gamer, you can do more of these action things. And to me, that combination's really nice because I like open worlds, but at the same time, I hate open worlds because I always want more to do than just run around and find things. Well, this one has some options for that. Well, it has cool combat to work on. So I am impressed with the amount of I'm impressed with the variety of play style with the characters. There's much more than I thought there would be. I thought it would get more generic between them more quickly, and I am still consistently surprised. I mean, it's still new. It's only tried so many characters, but I am still consistently, I probably like 10, still consistently surprised with um, how different each one plays, and I enjoy picking up a new one and trying it out. And what's nice is we unlocked one of the things you unlock with the dailies is we finally unlocked like a little tutorial system, and because you can't do trials unless they're on the banner. And you have to like read through their stuff and figure out how they go. But you do have little tutorials. I think for anybody you have as a character, you can do a little tutorial for. It's a very basic tutorial, and it just kind of says, "Here's your basic combo. Here's like your mechanics. Here's the combo you're trying." And it has you practice them as you go. It's like, here's a combo you can do. Here's the thing you can do with your skill. Here's the thing you can do with your ultimate. And then like a general idea of how the character's mechanics work together. So what you're kind of trying to do. It's like, hey, build the gauge and then expend it. So I did a couple tutorials, and they were helpful to me. And I thought they were nice because I had been just reading the stat pages and just trying to figure out myself, which there's a lot of words on those pages. So it's nice to have it just summarized in like human language. And I actually learned how to play play Encore, the demon girl from that, because I hadn't figured it out and I hadn't read her stuff yet. But it was fun because you go into like, you build her gauge and then you can kind of drop like a slow nuke. It takes her a while, but then she drops a big damage. But when you go into her ultimate, her combos move faster and function differently. And if you build up her gauge and drop the big thing, it's an even bigger damage. But it ends the ultimate. So you want to like burn the gauge, go to the ultimate, do all your new moves as fast as you can to build the gauge back up, and then use it one more time before the ultimate runs out. It's fun, and there's a lot of explosions. Right? And that's not how anyone else has worked yet. So it's just cool. The tutorials did show off something that I think I've brought up before, but there is a lack of polish in the game. I think it's one of its issues. I wouldn't say it's its biggest issue, but it is kind of a big issue because that's what people notice. They'll notice that really quickly. Like, sometimes the text doesn't make sense. So a lot of times the text might cut off. Like in that tutorial, it would have like the block of text telling me what to do, and if the text went further than here, it just, you wouldn't see it. And there was no way to scroll it or anything. So sometimes it'd be explaining a mechanic and then it just would end. And I'm like, well, I need to see the rest. So right, people are gonna notice that, and that is a place where the game is failing compared to its competitors. I think they've said they're gonna work on that. They've noticed, they've taken the feedback, and they're gonna work on improving that. Great, that's exactly what they need to do. The more they can get things polished and smooth, the 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 better impressions it'll leave on people, and the better people feel about it. So that's one of the things. Um, Is that more important than getting the story to not drag? Oh, it's probably easier. It's probably like more direct to fix. It's probably just like, all right, find all the things that aren't polished and polish them up. It's probably more, changing the way the story is delivered is probably like a higher level task. So I don't know which they're both. I'd say they're both important, but the story's done when it's done. And you never have to worry about it. But the polish, you can keep running into. So maybe it is more important. Was there anything else? I don't have written down. We talked. I think I talked about everything. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I've probably forgotten something, but the video's been going long enough. So that's where I am. I still really enjoy the game. It scratches a particular itch for me as someone who likes open world games but really likes action gameplay. That I can get that. It's actually hard to find good action gameplay. It's more niche than you think it is, believe it or not, considering most games probably have action elements simply because they're not turn based. But it's really hard to get that like nice combo system that's about timing and getting your skills right and giving you expression through gameplay, expression through button presses. And it's really hitting that itch for me. It's really feeling good. It's just nice to have a quality action game to play. But the story's driving me nuts. Has a little bit of lack of polish, but it's I don't know, to me the story's driving me nuts more. I can deal with a lack of polish. And I'm having a great time just exploring it and learning the game and still having fun. I'm glad that I've unlocked some stuff. I've unlocked the daily system. I guess I didn't talk about that, but it's a basic daily system that you would expect. It's got some silly dailies, but basically just play the game, go do some chores, and you can get your crystal grind, and you can work on your battle pass. It's got a battle pass. Um, these are like whatever to me. They on one level they give you an excuse to play. On another level, it's like can be annoying if they do the chores. Star Rail a little while back said they redid their daily quests and they said we're gonna get rid of the annoying daily quests and just make it more generic and simple so you can just kind of play what you want and get the quest done. Because really, we just care if you're playing that day, not we don't really care if you leveled up a specific light cone. So I kind of wish ever since that's happened, I've like, can all the other games do that too, please? And I did have a daily quest today that was like, level up one character, level up a weapon. I'm just like, oh. we need that Star Rail, simplified daily quests here. But I've got there, I've unlocked all those as normal stuff, and I'm glad to be making progress and still opening up pieces of the game, you know, and seeing more to it. And I'm having a great time learning it and playing it. So, third impressions, still enjoying it, still having fun with it, still worth it. Maybe skip the story though. so that so that's what I got. That's what I got. I hope you thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let me know what you're thinking about Wuthering Waves. If you're playing, if you're having a good time with it. You think I'm way off base, let me know. But yeah, that's all I got. So have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope things go well for you, and I will catch you in the next one. See you around.